This is KHEA Radio. It's just after 9 o'clock. I have Dr. Aaron Chapa in studio. It's February 1st. If you're watching on social media, feel free to share this out. There's going to be a brand new topic. There's a lot of fun things that are going to go on this show. Feel free to share this out and feel free to ask questions. Good morning. This is KHEA Radio, 99.5 FM. It's Kickstart, and I have Dr. Aaron Chapa from Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center here in studio. Dr. Chapa, it's February. What does that mean, and how are you doing?
Man, I'm first and foremost doing fantastic. You like that? First and foremost, doing fantastic. That is an alliteration for those grammar Nazis out there. Pretty excited.
First, foremost, fantastic.
That's right.
Love
and
it.
so I'm doing very well. I'm very excited to be here with you on the show. As usual, I'm always excited to be bringing a message of hope and healing, wellness to you in the alternative medicine world that teaches people how to live better, be better, and stay better one bite at a time. I love the idea that we are in more control of our health than we give ourselves maybe credit to or have accepted over the years. Because, you know, at Living Well, we believe that all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and that nutrition is the foundation, is the fundamental backbone that drives your health upward, onward, goodward, and Godward, or unfortunately spiral off down into sick and disease land, symptom land, places that we don't want to be, the suffering, the aging process, that accelerated aging process. We're all in the aging process, but can you control some of it? And the answer is yes. And so for those that are listening and tuning in, we always encourage you to like us, share us, and to, follow us. Like you can subscribe. Gardy, where can they catch the updates and the podcast?
So this will be replayed and, later today. It'll be uploaded on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. If you search Dr. Aaron Chapa, you can search Just Live Well. You can search Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center. I promise that you'll find it, and then you'll have access to dozens, and maybe even like 100 shows. There's a backlog of all this information that gets shared out every Tuesday. So make sure that you go subscribe to the Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center podcast.
And I think it's just one nugget. I mean, you're going down the road, and there's so many things you can listen to. So we always, appreciate it that you're listening to our message. But we're hoping that you do something with that message. Even if you get one nugget of information. I go to seminars, spend hundreds of dollars to get to a seminar through airplane tickets or drive time, or I spend time away from the office in order to learn and sharpen the axe, so to speak, in order to get one nugget. I was always struggling with writer's cramp. I'd go to classes and my hand would hurt because of all the notes that I was trying to take, and then I had a doctor friend tell me, he said, "Hey man, what's the hurry? What's the rush? Where's the fire?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, it looks like you're over there smoking, with the pencil on the paper, and you're trying to, get it all today. The reality is you won't. Why don't you just focus on letting it absorb slowly over time and cultivate a true understanding of how the body works, as opposed to just trying to memorize facts and ideas? Let's observe through clinical practice. Let's observe through application of theory, research, ongoing practices of others that have gone before you, and take one nugget and see how it applies to you today." And so I'm always amazed that if I can get patients now that come in to see us at Living Well, we recognize that they are constantly bombarded by information. We live in the information age, and it is actually a skill to learn to silence the noise, to silence the part of our environment that isn't giving us truth, but is trying to deceive us through marketing ads that this food is better for you than this food. In reality, we've taught people that processed food is somehow more readily available and valuable to the body than real food. And what do we get, Gardy, when we eat make-believe food?
Let's make believe health.
That's right. And we don't want make-believe health. We want health that is sustainable, health that will take us forward, onward, upward, goodward, and Godward, so that we can live better, be better all the days of our life. We call that longevity. I call it the vim, vigor, and vip for life, that vitality factor that gives you the electrical pizzazz to go out and do your thing, to go out and be creative, to go out and start a new business, to get a promotion, to take your work ethic up a notch, and for people all around you to see, or even for you just to appreciate knowing that even in the shadows, you're doing your darndest, your best in all things that you put your hand to. 'Cause that's what we're called to. We're called to be our best and do our best day in and day out, even though we're not perfect. And I think that, when you're healthy, you have more grace for yourself and others. You're able to show mercy to yourself and others. I mean, too often I have patients come in and they beat themselves up for making a mistake. They beat themselves up for missing the mark. They beat themselves up because they didn't make it 21 days on the detox. They only made it 19. Well, what does that really mean? You just put in 19 days worth of work and effort. I'm pretty sure a little bit of nutrition is better than no nutrition. 19 days is better than no days. So it is always inspiring and something that we all aspire to when we see people making the sacrifice. What does Romans 12:1 say? I beseech thee, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. God's not asking you to do something extraordinary. So we just set a goal, we just set a deadline, we just make a plan, but we're able to show mercy and grace to ourselves and to others if we don't necessarily follow that plan to the T. We're striving for excellence. We're striving to be better, and you can do that when your body feels good, when you don't have a headache. It happens. I'll wake up sometimes and systems running sluggish and slow, and I will have a little bit of a headache. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's not good. I don't feel like I want to get up. I don't feel like I want to get going. I'd rather just kind of lay there and try to make it go away. Instead, those days I have to dig a little deeper to get going. And so I thankfully have tools, and I'm teaching my patient base and my clinical team and my staff to recognize that they have tools and to use the tools, to not accept that you wake up with a headache today as, oh, well, it's going to be a glum day, a case of the Mondays, or, man, we haven't made it to Friday yet. Instead, we go, I'm not feeling my best today. What did I do yesterday? So we reflect. What can I learn from yesterday that's caused me suffering today, and how can I work with the suffering and learn from it so that I make the best of my day? Doesn't that sound better, Gardy?
It does.
I mean,
yeah.
People reach to the wrong solution. They reach for over-the-counter medications. They reach for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. They reach for something to push the pain down or block the receptors from sensing its environment, and ultimately it clouds their mind all the more. It shuts down their thyroid. It slows down their liver's ability to process the day. It alters the way the gut functions and fires and fuels and absorbs. And all of a sudden, one choice affects potentially the wrong path. One good choice, hey, get up. Take the dogs for a walk. Drink your water. Put your Himalayan salt, your Australian salt, your Hawaiian sun-dried salt in the water. Maximize your nutrient downloading capabilities. Check your basal body temperature. If you have diabetes, look at your blood sugar. It amazes me the people that aren't tracking their blood sugar and they have diabetes problems. Or the people that have high blood pressure and they're not waking up and first thing in the morning checking their BP and seeing where their day's starting. Mm-hmm. These are self-assessment tools that we can leverage, that you can leverage in your home and that you can bring into the office and let us help you understand better what these messages mean, the body's tales, reading the signs.
I saw in the Living Well Detox group that there was somebody starting their detox yesterday.
Yeah, isn't that
cool?
It
was day one. So I know that the group detox is coming to an end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except you can still continue on.
That's right. And we see patients do detox all through February, and it really excites us. Because we want people to not just say, oh, well, I didn't get to do it with the group, so I'm not going to do it. No. Sometimes schedule doesn't allow. Sometimes there's travel. Sometimes there's business. Sometimes there's a family event. Sometimes there's something that the season doesn't allow you to do it with the group. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't incorporate it as your day one, wherever that day one is. It could be March, it could be February, it could be May. People start detox all the time, and with group or without group. The reason we do a group detox is we find that there are a group of people that want tribal interaction. They want to be a part of other people's lives that are learning and growing, to incorporate this mindset that we are in control of our health. It's our life, our health, our choice, and that detox is a major tool in maximizing the first 3 months of the year. So if you start your detox today, by the way, so proud of the Ashley and her family, because they are kicking butt. They've already learning some things. And I saw, today, some Brussels sprouts with some, shredded Brussels sprouts with some pumpkin seeds on top. And I'm thinking to myself, yes, please. It makes me excited. I love Brussels sprouts. They're so powerful for liver. They're so powerful for maximizing how the liver is going to process chemicals and metals that it gets exposed to. And so wherever you are in the health and wellness journey, you can start today. It goes back to our oak tree conversation. When's the best time to plant an oak tree, Gardy?
30 years ago.
It is 30 years ago. But 30 years has since passed. So when is the next best time to plant that oak tree?
You start today.
Start today. Start today. And I think that why not? Why not start today? Run the experiment on yourself. Start evaluating your body's signs and symptoms. Are you seeing your day more days throughout the week with headaches than without? And if so, what are you doing from an alternative perspective? Are you just leaning on the non-steroidal drugs? Are you looking for high potency drugs to turn the volume down on those symptoms? Or are you actively looking for the underlying cause, the real effect? And that's where Living Well shines. We are your nutrition, health, and wellness resource. You're number one. We want to be number one because we bring to you ongoing training, ongoing coaching to help you navigate what your health is telling you. It's always communicating. I had a patient bring me in blood work yesterday. Her blood sugar's under control. Her blood pressure's under control. So we fine-tooth comb evaluating her blood numbers, her markers. Not that we fully rely on just those alone, but now that we've stabilized her sugar, and now that we've stabilized her markers that she can measure in her own home, let's fine-tooth comb and see what the rest of the blood may be telling. And it does. It shows dehydration. It shows deficiencies in thyroid function. It shows that there's an infection. It shows that there is inflammation. It shows that there is issues with the liver, issues with the adrenal glands, issues with hydrochloric acid in the stomach, issues with minerals, issues with the way your body's absorbing nutrients. Yes, you can find all that out on your blood panel. How many times have you gone to see your medical professional and they look at your blood work and tell you that, oh, it looks like you have a stomach acid problem. You're not digesting your food well, and that explains why you have acid reflux, indigestion, heartburn, that pain in the belly, right? No, they don't tell you that. You tell them that you have belly pain, and they just give you an antacid. Not the answer, not the cause. The cause is something more. It could be in your liver. It could be in the intestines. It could be something that you're putting in your diet that's inflaming the stomach, inflaming the esophageal tissue, and creating stress and inflammation in that area. So we always take to the next level. We never accept just one marker. We evaluate you as a whole. What part of the watch tells time?
It's all of it.
All of it. That's right. It sounds like you've heard this story before. Mm-hmm. And the reality is the message doesn't change. The record keeps spinning. We just kind of do a little chop, chop, bring it back, and remind you. You like that?
It's Choppa style.
That's right, brother. Choppa style.
Chop it up.
And we chop it up so that people understand that we've got to revisit the old. We've got to revisit the continuation of the pattern so that you don't just assume that your blood sugar is okay. Hey, go ahead and check back in. Had a medical team tell one of my patients who had infertility challenges, her first fertility experience, she had gestational diabetes. So the second go-round, she wanted to have a different experience. Her child is over 3, and she gets pregnant again. And they assume her to be what? High risk. Why? Because she had a history of gestational diabetes, which is diabetes during the pregnancy process. But I told her, I said, no, you're not any more of a high risk now because you've been actively for the last 2 years aggressively cleaning up your lifestyle, cleaning up your habits, changing the old into something new. You've made some sacrifices. You've done some detoxes. You've put yourself through what we call the sequential immune upregulation process. We've allowed and cleaned up, your heart and your arteries. We've strengthened your adrenal glands. You are not the same gal that you were the first time. And guess what? She's had no gestational diabetes the second go round. She's almost 18, 19 weeks in. She's had not any of the symptoms she had prior. She's actually she has lost a little bit of weight in comparison to the first go-round, meaning she's not on the same trajectory to gain the excessive amounts of weight, because it's natural to gain weight, ladies, when you're pregnant. I'm not saying that you should lose weight, but it's okay that she's gaining weight. But sometimes you can gain too much weight because you're allowing the wrong foods in. She understands food. She understands how to care for her body, how to remineralize her tissues. She understands that it's not just her that she's feeding, it's the baby that she's building. She's doing both. And so she knows when to, increase her minerals. She knows when to take more B vitamins. She knows when to up her adrenal support. She knows when she goes into a stressful situation how to knock down the stress response. So she's not reactive, she's responsive. And now her body is allowing her to run her life and to build child simultaneously with no negative symptoms. Praise God. Isn't that good news? Mm-hmm. So just because you have symptoms the first go-round doesn't mean that you're high risk the second go-round, especially if you're not the same person, especially if you're not following the same recipe you followed the first time. So it doesn't matter if you're a pregnant lady or a 95-year-old with Alzheimer's or a 40-year-old with blood sugar dysregulation, or if you have sleep trouble, or if you've got thyroid issues, or you got hot flashes and you're not menopausal. It doesn't matter. All it means is that your body is expressing a glitch, a dysfunction, and you just got to go, okay, what do I need to do to alter that result, that end game that I currently am in? How do I reverse it, change it, and go a different direction? If you knew you were heading towards the edge of a cliff and you knew that it would be detrimental if you continued down that road, odds are you would slow down, stop, put it in reverse, look for a detour, go a different direction, right?
Right,
yes. That would be reasonable. Mm-hmm. And so that's what reading the signs tells you. It allows you to know if you're heading down the wrong path. It doesn't mean you're always going to have a perfect life and that you're never going to have an illness or sickness come through your home, or you're not susceptible to stomach bugs when little Johnny brings it home. It doesn't mean any of that. It means, remember, we've talked about this in the past, that health isn't never getting sick. It's how your body responds when presented with sicknesses, illnesses, bugs from the environment around us. The response time is the indication for neurological integration with your immunological system, with your cardiovascular system that balances with your endocrine system.
No, I'm not going to hang on to that. I'm going to let that go.
Emotionally sick, right? And not just physically sick, biochemically sick. You're right. And, you and I are good friends with Grandmaster Garza over at Premier Martial Arts, and he taught me something just recently. Him and I went to lunch, and we were talking, and he shows me that when we're reactionary, when we are blaming, when we're complaining, when we're defensive, it shuts us down. It prevents us from being teachable. It prevents us from being creative, looking for a new solution to get off that detrimental road towards the edge of the cliff. And I think that it's easy to blame our parents. That's what medicine has unfortunately taught us in today's society, that blaming mom and dad for their bad genes and why my genes are no good too is okay, because don't worry, we have a pill for an ill. We've got something for your thyroid. We've got something for your cholesterol. We've got something for your blood pressure. Pill for an ill. Instead of looking upstream and saying, how can we overhaul the cardiovascular system so that we reverse cardiovascular disease? How do we upregulate your immune system virally, bacterially, parasitically, fungally? Every week, I give my family a deworming. Say, for example, today's Tuesday, we're going to give everybody Paraforce. Why? Because we know that it isn't going to hurt. A little bit of nutrition is better than no nutrition. It's okay that it's not every day. A little deworming from time to time is a good thing. So we run, herbs through their body to get rid of worms or disrupt the ant pile. Because ant piles are going to come, even if you disinfect your yard. They're going to come. They are they're able to overcome too. So we want to constantly be giving the body tools to overcome the bugs that infiltrate. We want to give our body a dose of yeast-reducing agents ongoing because we're constantly bombarded with opportunities to feed these bugs through sugar, through things that convert to sugar like bread, rice, cereal, pasta, potatoes. We've got to be mindful that we are getting into foods that are highly adulterated, that they are sabotaging your liver's ability to detox. So we want to do detox and open up the liver and drain off the excess of the liver. I had a patient yesterday come in, and she was shocked. She goes, I got these bags under my eyes, and I'm having hot flashes, and I'm kicking my covers off at night, and I'm a little bit irritable. And I said, let's take a look at your protocol. We looked through, and I go, when did all this start? And I said, did it happen to start somewhere around November? And she goes, well, now that you say that, I think so. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, why did you say that? And I said, well, it looks like we started you on a debugging process in mid-November. And so it wouldn't shock me that within days of that, and then within a month of that, and now 3 months into that, that you are full force into a massive debugging, a pocket of waste elimination. We've killed off a bunch of stuff because we have graduated her through phases of debugging. We don't come in with the power hose. We come in gentle, a little more gently aggressive, then a little bit more aggressive still, and we keep escalating it until we get to what we call a therapeutic debugging. But we don't want to come in and just create massive die-off for a patient and ruin their health for a week or a month. And especially in today's world, people are already feared with having symptoms. So if I can manage symptoms and debug you at the same time, I'm actually deburdening your body, helping the response process so that now your body's not going into a blaming and complaining cycle. It's going into a redemptive cycle where it's reconditioning itself. Its adaptive abilities go up. Its ability to manage stressful times. Its ability to control blood pressure, blood sugar whenever the stresses climb. And now, instead of being reactive and everything blowing out of proportion, and now you got heart palpitations. Now you get anxiety, depression. Now your mind starts racing and you can't grab hold of names, numbers, and words, and you start losing, your train of thought every time you get presented with a circumstance. Now and that would be the reactionary place where everything shuts down and you have symptoms. Now your body, because you've done all this deburdening work, your margin is wider. You're able to tolerate more. Not that you should, but life seems to keep throwing it and dishing it, right? So we want to make sure that we're maximizing our own health in order to navigate tomorrow, to navigate today, to navigate the next hour, because you never know what escalating stress is lurking in the shadows that's going to try to trigger a blaming, complaining, defensive response out of you or reaction out of you. They're just triggers, and those triggers are built to run a path that you've been running for years. And we, as your coach, are helping you see that when those triggers come, because you're healthier and your margin is more wide, you're able to go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Last time I pushed play on that trigger, that trigger button got pushed, this path ran and it created a day, 2 day, 4 days worth of depression, anxiety, heart palpitations, symptoms, headaches, something that I didn't like, something that was uncomfortable. Now you can put the brakes on and go, whoa, 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 I've seen that before. I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to leverage the tools that I know have helped me in the past. What do I like? If your stress is a 7 to a 10 on a 0 to 10 scale, I say adaptogen, Mintran, Neviton. Why? Because I know that the adaptogen will support my adrenals during that stressful event so I can manage it better. I know that the Neviton will give me bandwidth to tolerate and think through the process. And I know that the Mintran will calm my jets like oil to an engine and keep me cool as the other side of the pillow. And so whenever that is my state of being, my ability to manage my circumstances, my response to my world around me is improved instantly. And I'm able to be a player in the solution-finding game, not a blamer of the problems or the victim mentality that so oftentimes we're triggered to pick up. Because none of that serves us. It doesn't serve. It only is a distraction. It's only a burden that you can walk past. But if you're sick, if your body is mentally overwhelmed, it's very hard to juggle one more thing. And so it comes down to, what are you doing today to impact your health today, tomorrow, for the next 5 years, for the next 15 years, for the duration of life? Because all of us have an expiration date, but none of us know what that expiration date is, only if we did. Or wouldn't that be terrifying?
If you knew, like, the countdown?
Mm-hmm.
I think so. You just...
I mean, I don't know, maybe you'd get used to it.
There was a movie with Justin Timberlake where they had that, and that's how they bought stuff. I think it was Justin Timberlake, but everybody had a certain amount, but you would buy your food with it, and so it would take down time. So that was the most valuable thing you had.
Whoa. Yeah, but isn't it interesting? Time is that.
We trade our time for money. We trade our time for convenience, and sometimes that convenience takes a toll on your health, so you're paying with your health for the convenience.
That's right. And I think that there's a message there. It's like, time is a resource that we can't get back. You can't invest and get more time. You can't, time comes to us all equally at the same rate. Mm-hmm. And it's what we are doing with the time. But I find that whenever, and I'm going to say that, I'm not at all perfect at this, but our kids are growing really fast. But I think the healthier we get, the more we're putting the brakes on the time to make sure that we're investing in, for me, my family. That gives me joy. That brings a level of, like, I like getting kisses from my girls. I like getting hugs from my son. I like going and playing at the park because they like exercising, and so do I. I like, taking that time because it makes me feel like I'm imparting a bit of myself into them, even though the world is as demanding on me as it is on you, as it will be on them, right?
Yeah.
But teaching them to hold strong, I think sometimes we can learn from martial arts, the horse stance, being able to hold that stance for extended periods of time builds mental fortitude, physical fortitude. It builds in us an endurance to withstand some pains of life, pressures of life, uncomfortabilities of life, but to be a rock in the storm, and to be modeled after the rock for which we stand, Christ alone, right? Like, if he's our Christ-like image that we are to pursue, in the way he weathered the storm, we need to learn to weather the storm, to make the necessary sacrifice, to slow down the world around whenever it seems to just press in on you and grind on you and beat you down. Instead, we do what we can with our biochemical life, things that we can control. We were talking about this yesterday at our roundtable, and I can't control the weather. I can't control exhaust. I can't control, contaminants that are inadvertently coming at me as I'm driving to and from appointments through the day. Neither can you. But I can control the food I put in. Now, I can't control the pesticides on the food. I mean, even the organic stuff. I can do my best to put as much clean food in, but what's better for you, Gardy? A candy bar or a canned vegetable?
I would say the canned vegetable is the better option.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Right? I know it's got metal in it. I know it's probably got, botulism. I get all that. Whatever. I don't have a solution to that, right? But if I'm going to put a sugar source that's going to obviously feed the enemy in my body, the bugs, and they're going to potentially take over because I keep feeding them and training them and nourishing them and strengthening them, and I'm not going to ever put in nutrients that serve my cellular makeup, my body's ability to recondition itself and to build itself and to maximize energy, mental clarity day in and day out, how would I expect to have good health, even if it was a canned good? Now, obviously, we don't want to just, lean on just canned goods. But, I mean, if that's all I had, I would choose the canned good. And then if I could, and I think you would, if you kept making the choice to choose the better option, even if it's at that lower of quality, I think you're going to nourish and strengthen the cells in your body. They're going to begin to resonate better than if you lived on candy bars. And then all of a sudden, you're going to find a solution because your brain is better, your blood sugar is more stable, your stress response is better. You're going to be able to graduate to the conventional food or the frozen food.
I talked to, it was Molly and Jennifer in studio one time, and we were talking about that. And I think it was Molly just saying your body, how smart it is, and, designed that if that's the only option it has for a vitamin, it's still, or, a mineral, whatever it needs from that nutrient, it's going to take it and plug it in and try and make it work, because it doesn't have it, if it's depleted.
Yeah, and if your body, according to science, is made up of mostly bugs, and we have a cell structure, and they both feed on different things. One feeds on sugar and becomes strong. One feeds on, and that's disease, and one feeds on nutrients, and that's life. The one you feed is the one that wins. And so even if the quality isn't superior quality, but it's what you have access to, it's going to be better than feeding the enemy, right? And so all life starts and stops at the cellular level, and nutrition is the fundamental backbone, even if it's not the best quality. So you can't make an excuse, I can't afford organic, so I'm just going to eat, candy bars.
Yeah.
No.
Organic candy bars.
Yeah, organic candy bars, right. Yeah. Certified GMO-free, whatever. I mean, but here's the reality is I think if you keep making, if you're a good steward, a good choice maker in what you have access to, I believe that you will become more creative in finding a solution to attain the next level of superiority, even if it's one step up. It's called a degree of change. And so no matter where you're at health-wise, if you make 1 degree of change, you're moving in a good positive direction. Just like I was talking about earlier, if I deworm my family once a week, isn't that better than them never being dewormed? What do you mean? They have worms? How do you know they got worms? Well, we all have worms. There's parasites in you. That's why you decay when you're in the casket. That's why you decay when you return to the dust, like the Bible says. There's bugs that decay you by design. But they are subdued because the Bible says, what? We are to subdue the creepy, crawly things. We are to put into submission those things that are to give us synergy. There's a purpose for those little boogers, creepy, crawly things. And our body leverages them like subcontract labor. And that's a good thing. But when they get the upper hand, when they start ruling the roost, that's when the symptoms come. That's when the degenerative process is engaged. That's whenever the accelerated process is enforced. And now we're on the fast track to unhealthy living, disease states, symptom land, pathology, things that we don't like. And we want to see people live better through better choices. So every degree of change will bring another degree of healthy change. Every degree of unhealthy choice will lead to unhealthy changes that will lead to more unhealthy changes. I mean, I think it's just like gravity. You're either going up or you're going down. You're on the road.
Talking about degrees of change, I think of coming off of a detox. It's almost the same way. Those degrees of change, whether it's like introducing things back to your diet, or maybe like, okay, I'll have a piece of cake or the candy bar and all this stuff. So it's that 1 degree of change. It becomes easier to make that decision the next time, or I had one yesterday. I'll have another one again today. So it works both ways, like you said.
And no doubt about it. And we call it. I didn't actually come up with it as a patient. Came up with it, but it's after the detox, we go right back into retox. And I was like, oh wow, I love that phraseology, because I'm a little less likely to jump into retox because I don't like the idea of retoxifying my body after the work I just put in to live clean for 21 days. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so what if you are if you reframe even the way you approach day 22, day 23, day 53, all of a sudden now your impact from that 21-day experience is all far more reaching for better health. And that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get your body to start showing you where you're faltering through symptoms. Most people are just so disconnected, they don't realize that food is causing their headache. Food is causing their blood pressure problem. Food is causing their anxiety. Food is causing their anger. Food is causing their frustration. They don't get it. They don't see it. And that's okay at first, but ignorance still comes with a price. You might find yourself going, well, I don't know. I didn't know. And I spent the last 15 years putting drugs in my body looking for an answer. Well, that 15 years of drugs is more retox effect. And oftentimes that's why we see one drug, pharmaceutical, leads to another drug, pharmaceutical, leads to another drug, pharmaceutical. And now patients come in and they're on 5+ medications at 55, at 45. And that's where the average person has to start making change if they're going to live better, be better, and stay better. We want to reprogram your thinking so that you see your health, your vitality, your vim, vigor, and vip, your longevity as something that you can manage and control and can steward, because you can. We do that through detoxification at Living Well. We do that through remineralization heavily at Living Well. I mean, if you don't put minerals into the body, it is like having the best tool, but never plugging it in, and it never works. We make sure we maximize cell-to-cell communication through mitochondrial cell-to-cell respiration. We want to make sure that your cells are producing adequate cellular energy, cellular money, so that you can run the day-to-day activities in order to be the best version of you possible. That's B vitamins. We want to make sure that the cell membranes are nourished and strengthened, and make sure that those essential fatty acids are intact, so that the cell membrane it bumps up to the next guy, and there's this meshing, this molding, this one-like factor where your body is synergistically working as a team, not as an individual cell. Isn't that kind of a cool thought? Mm-hmm. You are an athlete, even if you sit behind a desk. You are, high performance even if you're not driving a race car at 200 miles an hour around a racetrack. And then when you choose to get a pit stop and go in and get tuned up, to tweak the motor, so to speak, to make sure that your thyroid is running. We had a lady go through a major health challenge, and as soon as she came out of it, she felt pain in her thyroid, literal pain on the right side. She had a swallowing like pain. She had an irritation like pain. There was no indication of thyroid tonsil or stones. There was no irritation of sore throat. There was no drip drainage. It was like she was fatigued and she had pain in her throat on the right side. So we're in there tinkering around testing, and sure enough, we find thyroid reflexes that were active, and we start asking questions, and we start saying, oh, yes, she's sleepy during the day, can fall asleep at a whim. She can't drag herself to the gym. She's not being the mom she wants to be. She's not being the wife she wants to be. And we find, you know what? Let's just see. Is it metals? Is it chemicals? Is it infection? No. The thyroid just needed support. We just needed to put some minerals in there, some iodine in there. We needed to just feed the thyroid, and then it turned it on. 1 week, she comes back and says, oh, yeah, I'm way better. I mean, I was better within 3 days. It was amazing. And but interestingly, she still isn't done. She still had reflexes that were triggering off an indication, and now her body, get this, was ready to work on the next barrier to her thyroid health, which was, in this case, chemicals. So her body wasn't ready to deal with the underlying issue. It needed strength first. It needed rest first. It needed reconditioning first. And then it was ready to open that closet door and clean house. Isn't that kind of cool? Mm-hmm. See, your body has priorities. And who are we as doctors to think that we know best? We're coaches. We are to observe with you and then make decisions together so that we can give the body the resources and tools to navigate the next logical step for wellness. That's what a good health coach does. We're not just following the blood. We're not just listening to symptoms. We're not just doing, one test for superior evaluation. We're thinking with you through all of it. The watch analogy. We're having to take and hold your whole clinical picture and everything you've been through as a potential cause of why, hey, you haven't had symptoms of, earache in 15 years and you're doing a debugging process and all of a sudden you have pain in your left ear. What if that was from 15 years ago, that your body has had that door locked, closed, and shut, sealed for 15 years, saying, I don't know what's in there, but I've got it in and I ain't letting it out. It's like the Ghostbusters locking up the little ghost in the ghost trap, right?
Yeah.
Don't let it out because he might come back out madder than a wet hen. In this case, the body goes, you know what? I'm ready to face whatever's in that closet. That's where you want to get your health to, where your health is actively engaging in cleaning out the burdens from the old, the burdens from the past. That's health. That's wellness. That's vitality. That's what's going to help your body live longer, because you're not going to be carrying around years and years and years and years of weighted burdens, infectious burdens, chemical burdens, metal burdens, non-infectious burdens, weaknesses, nutritional deficiencies. Your body's not going to have to carry that stuff around whenever it has resources coming in regularly to feed those cells and make those cells robust and communicative so that they work together synergistically, sharpening the saw and keeping the creepy crawly things at bay and maximizing life and longevity more often than not. It doesn't mean that you're never going to fall off the wagon. It just means that when you fall off the wagon, you're going to count the cost. You're going to say, you know what? That bowl of ice cream might not pay me dividends on Monday morning when I've got to present to the CEO, when I've got to go and serve 30 people, when I've got to go and be the best that I can be for you guys on the radio. Every choice you make has an impact for the next 2, 3, 4 days potentially. And when you start to see that food has an ability to impact your tomorrow, your next 3 hours, your next hour, you start making better choices because you're taking the bull by the horns. You're taking and choosing to make a choice to impact your day. Now I'm getting fired up, Gardy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting excited. And I know we're coming to a close. But here's the reality, is we just want you to always grab that little nugget that it's your life, your health, your choice. Those that went through the detox, it's 3 months worth of work packed into 21 days. Those that are about to start the detox or that started yesterday, you're about to make a big dent in your overall health picture, your family social circle, your family generational line. You're going to make a dent. You're going to shine brighter whenever you're cleaned out, that when your body's performing at the cellular level as it was designed to. It's going to blow your mind what you learn about yourself, that you can make sacrifice, that you can present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. You can do it. Even if it's 1 degree. I had a guy come in yesterday. I walk in and I didn't know he was gonna he didn't do the 21 day. He started the 10-day detox. What do you mean you have a 10-day detox? He goes, I thought I had the last time I had a 7-day detox and it was designed this way. I said I still have that one. They just repackaged it. It looks a little different, and as things do, it's like model 2.0, model 3.0. Mm-hmm. And so I told him, I said, but it's okay. We just found that this 10-day seems to be better. We found that through trial and error, it's more patient compliance. Patients are able to do it. It's not necessarily better or worse. It's just different. because we're still cleaning up the diet. We're still purging trash out of the lymphatics, purging trash out of the liver, purging trash through the bowels. We're still cleaning up the body and resetting the blood sugar pathways, cleaning out those joints from all those years past when we were allowing the retoxification process to poison our joints, to poison our mind, to poison those fat cells. So we're always out to maximize health, and we do that through a series of ideas: vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids. We want to make sure that you're getting the bare bones basics from your day-to-day. You can't take a one-a-day. You got to eat food several times a day. So we don't believe in one-a-days. Although I'm sure it'd be better to do a one-a-day healthy food-based nutrient than no nutrients at all. Especially if the only nutrients you're putting in are all synthetic. We don't want that either. I mean, there's a conversation to be had around that. We want to make sure that the essential fatty acid load is intact so that when your body is presented with cellular fire, inflammation from whatever you've done this weekend, whatever medication you're currently on, whatever choices you've made over the years, that those cells are blending together and meshing together and becoming one together to synergize together. And make sure that those minerals are engaging the clutch so that you get traction, so that you get on down the line in a healthy, productive way, the way you want at full firing capacity. You don't want an 8-cylinder car and only maximize 4 of them. You spit and sputter, probably wouldn't be good, right? And then we can maximize those changes all the more through teaching you how to read the signs when you have a little bit of a glitch. So even though I feel well today, I could tell this morning I was a little slow getting going for some reason, and I suspect I could probably know why, but I was able to use my tools and pick myself up, and I wound up spending some good time in the Word this morning, and I had some good time writing this morning, and it was really good for me. It was a good mental gymnastics morning. It turned out to be great. I got to still take my pups for a walk. I still got to get up and get going, and it didn't let my flesh win today, my bugs win today, and say, it's okay to be stagnant. See, that's what they want. They try to sell you the lie that, oh, it's okay, go back, you deserve the rest. I already got my 6.5, 7 hours of sleep last night. What, do I really need more? I mean, I know my body. I've been with it long enough to know that I would have not been my best on this show this morning if I wasn't able to work through some of those things this morning. But yet, I pushed onward, upward, goodward, and Godward. That's, some of that. I mean, I really think the Holy Spirit just nudges us and helps us, have grace to say, it's okay if it's a little slower this morning. Just keep moving. Because bugs like stagnation. Ant piles love stagnation. That's why whenever you're not tinkering around the yard, mowing and doing the spring cleaning activities, there's more ant piles, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing our part to stir up our soil. The way you do that is movement. If the dude don't move,
the dude don't groove.
The dude don't groove. That's right. And so we want to make sure that you're moving and grooving, drinking your water, doing the lifestyle practices. At Living Well, we're constantly in practice, constantly teaching you how to read the signs and to navigate the pitfalls that are going to present themselves. Those opportunities get derailed. Those opportunities to choose the lesser of best in activity and or food choice and or stress management. If we can teach you how to navigate some of those things, you're going to find that your longevity is naturally going to be more easily attainable. Your vitality is going to be up, and your ability to think through challenges and make better choices is going to be easier. This idea that you can't, you'll eliminate from your vocabulary because you'll know that through Christ you can. You'll have a better attitude towards circumstances that present themselves that maybe trigger you to run the negative path. You'll hold that sharp tongue of yours, right? That's what we're striving for, is to make better choices more frequently than the wrong choices, because we know that when we make wrong choices, it really hurts us in the long run. Either way, we damage relationships, damage ourselves, damage opportunities, damage reputation. And so if we can teach you how to be better to yourself, which we can, which we do, which we love to do. It's so much fun to see people make better choices. On Saturday, Jennifer got 2 messages. They just said simply this, both of them. It's like God was just reminding her of that we are thankful for the work that you do. because we're trench workers. We're in it with you. We are in the process too. We have not arrived. We won't arrive because constantly you've got the good guys and the bad guys. The bad guys always want to win. The good guys always want to win. There's this battle. But we have the ability to choose, and the tribe at Living Well is all working together in order to help you choose life and to choose better life one bite at a time. I love being with you guys each and every week. It is so much fun to teach, to be on the air, and to trust that you guys that have questions, y'all feel free to ask. For those that are looking for answers, you can give us a call at 281-554-8600. Take one of our health surveys online, justlivewell.com, or revisit this podcast. Subscribe to this podcast. Or share this podcast. Comment on this podcast. And how can they do that, Gardy?
So if you go to Spotify, you go to Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can search Just Live Well or Living Well Clinical Nutrition Center, and then subscribe. You only have to subscribe one time, and then it's going to notify you if you have your notifications on. It'll pop up there. You can go back and listen whenever you want to. Maybe you heard something that's really good. You want to share it with a friend. This is a super easy way. You can share a link, and they'll just be able to plug it in whenever they get in their car, plug it in whenever they're at the office or they're cooking, and they'll be able to change their life. This is one degree of change where you can easily, just hearing it.
That's right.
Maybe you aren't even ready to start it. Just start hearing it.
Press play. Because we're a product of the people we hang around, the books, CDs, or the books that we read, the CDs we listen to, or the podcast in this day and age that we listen to. And it is amazing that simply you can drive down the road. I mean, I love podcasts. I mean, I would put this on 2x speed and just let it roll because I know that my mind can process the information and it'll grab the nugget. And when I get the nugget, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I mean, I literally will go back and listen to my own podcast and see if this guy's got anything worthwhile to say. Because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if I can learn from myself telling myself something, I'm reminded that I still need to be reminded. I still need to be taught. I still need to be trained. I still need to be encouraged or inspired. And it is a nice way. I know some people are very not interested in seeing their own movie or seeing their own reel or seeing their own book or whatever. But man, that is a imprint of you. What can you learn from you, your old you? What is your old you telling you? And so I think that's why it's important to do reflection exercises and go back and look at last year's goals. How many did you hit? Rewrite those goals. How many new ones did you add? And how many of you continuing to strive for? Even the ones that are audacious, the ones that just seem too big and hairy, right? We just keep striving, and we keep being inspired and keep finding people that have the idea of vision for themselves and their families, and they want to be better, and they're not settling for the status quo. They're not settling for the generational curses that have been handed down to us. They're constantly reaching to the next level, and they're constantly reading the next book, and they're constantly appreciating the next piece of wisdom and knowledge, and applying that wisdom and knowledge to their day in and day out, because that is where the adventure is, the learned adventure, the education process. What my dad used to say is the education is the key on the key ring. The more education you get, the more doors you can open. I just didn't realize it. It's not necessarily a degree plan. It's education as a lifestyle, a day in and day out. What are you learning from the day? What are you getting from the day? What are you giving to the day? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all about that attitude. What place are you coming from that you can be a blessing to your surroundings, to your community, to your family, to yourself? And so when you're healthy, when you're stronger, you're able to, again, have grace and mercy on yourself so that you can take, life, I don't want to say not seriously, but you're not so serious that you're rigid. You're pliable. We want you to be pliable. We want you to be teachable. We want you to be moldable. And I believe that comes through good health at the cellular level. That comes through that spiritual grace and that spiritual mercy that the Holy Spirit has bestowed upon us. The Bible says that grace is sufficient for you, for me, for all of us. And so you can pass that grace and mercy to your friends, family, or loved ones that might be having a trouble today. Because you're healthy, and you said, I'm going to take care of me so that I can take care of you. You take care of you so that you can take care of me. We take responsibility for our health. We take responsibility for where we are today, where we're going tomorrow, and we trust that the Holy Spirit, that God Almighty, Christ alone will lead us there. And so I leave you with that, and I pray that you have a great week and that you live well, be well, and stay well, one bite at a time.
This is KHEA Radio, 99.